Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hooga With It. Today I wanted to just gush about my favorite horror books. It's Halloween time. It's time to start pulling out the scary books. So let's get into it. So I've got 5 books that I want to share with you. And I think these are my 5 favorite horror books. So let's dive right in. So the first is The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. Now this is a very layered horror story. This is also historical fiction. So we follow a doctor who is called to a very grand old house because there's a maid there that's very ill and he has to go and check on her. Now he has a special relationship with the house because his mom used to work there. She was a maid there as well. And so he's been in the house before when he was a kid. And the house has fell into disrepair because this takes place in the turn of the 20th century. So the upper class is absolutely falling. The middle class is rising. So he's a doctor. He's part of the middle class and the rise of the middle class. And he's visiting this family that is not doing well at all anymore. It's composed of an elderly mother with her 2 adult children, a man who survived the war but has definitely been affected by it, and then a woman who's single and lives with her mother and brother. And so he becomes involved with the family, and this is so layered because you are really exploring the relationships between these people and exploring the concept of this rise and fall, and then there's a ghost thrown in sometimes, and it's terrifying because you forget. You get so engrossed in the characters, you totally forget about the ghost, and then there will be these scenes with this ghost that I found terrifying to a point that, like, I think Barry was on his way to go to a trip to Boston or something like that, and I knew that it was coming up, and I had to finish it before he left because I was so scared. And I didn't want to be still reading that without him in the house. So I really loved it. The second horror book that I would recommend and love is Come Closer by Sarah Gran. This is a tiny little, like, novella kind of book, and this is about possession, and it's written from the perspective of a woman being possessed. And I've never read anything like that before, and it was terrifying. It shows the possession from the very beginning. So little tiny things that really could happen to anyone, like hearing tapping, hearing another voice in your head. We all have voices in our heads, and this is like a third voice, and not recognizing it as her own. Oh my God. There's so many little things that are terrifying, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds to this horrendous, violent, terrifying ending. So recommend that one. Number 3 is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This is a classic, very old classic. This is about a governess who goes to take care of 2 children, and she believes that the grounds are haunted. She sees this woman and this man walking the grounds, and she is absolutely terrified. Some people might consider this more of a thriller than a horror, but I would consider it a horror because you're not sure, are there ghosts? Is she completely right? Or is that completely in her head? I was very, very afraid reading this. Again, this is another small one, so honestly, if you wanted to, like, sit down, hunker down and read a bunch of horror books, you could read these last 2 in like a week if you wanted to. Number 4 is probably my favorite horror book of all time, and it's Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This is an apocalyptic book that flashes backwards and forwards in time, and we meet a woman who is in this home, boarded up. She can't look out of the windows. She's got these 2 kids, and she knows she has to leave and get into a boat and go for safety, and find a safe zone if she can. Now, they are boarded up because there are these beings outside, or these things outside, that if you see these things, you will go crazy, you'll kill other people, and then you'll kill yourself. And so she's blindfolding herself and blindfolding these kids and going into the river and trying to find the safe haven. So you follow her during that time, and then you also flash backwards in time when she's pregnant. All of these events are just starting, and these beings are just being found, and people are killing themselves, and she doesn't know what to do. And I was terrified. There's a scene at the end that's completely ridiculous, and if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, but I really thought it was absolutely terrifying. I will say, now a lot of people liked the movie adaptation of Bird Box. I personally found it horrible. Like, I really hated the adaptation. So if you watched the adaptation and didn't like it, try the book. Like, I'm so angry at the adaptation. Try the book because it's really good. Okay, and then the last horror book that I absolutely loved is The Cabin at the End of the World. This is also apocalyptic-ish. This is about 2 dads and a little girl, and they have rented this cabin. They're having their little summer vacation there. Their daughter Wen is outside catching grasshoppers, and then this man walks up the driveway to her and is chatting with her, and he says, what is about to happen, Wen, isn't your fault. And he starts walking towards the house. She realizes something is off here. She runs inside to tell her dads. And they look outside, and he is suddenly accompanied by, I think, 3 other people. And they're coming up the lane, and they're wielding these strange weapons that they've created themselves. And they're calling in saying, we're not going to hurt you. We just need your help to save the world. And they're insane. They're insane. It's home invasion. It's apocalyptic, and it's terrifying and very bloody. I don't like body horror, but this has it, and I still really liked it. So those are my 5 favorite horror books. Let me know in the comments below what your very, very favorite horror book is. I would love to know, and I will talk with you soon. Bye, guys.